Hey guys, my name is Trevor, and welcome to another travel video. In November of 2019, my mom and I took a trip to visit family for Thanksgiving. But instead of flying or driving, we chose to take the train. If you've ever wondered what it's like to take a long-distance trip on Amtrak, stick around because I'm going to show you my experience. Amtrak operates dozens of short and long-haul routes across America. We live in Phoenix and we wanted to get to Worcester, Mass., which is near Boston. To do this, we would need to take two trains. The first is the Southwest Chief, which runs from Los Angeles to Chicago. We would board in Flagstaff and ride it all the way to Chicago, which is a distance of 1,699 miles, or 2,734 kilometers. After a layover in Chicago, we would take the Lakeshore Limited another 915 miles, or 1,472 kilometers, to Worcester. The total travel time is 52 hours, or about 2.5 days. Phoenix used to have passenger rail service beginning in the 1920s, but service was ended in 1996. Today, Phoenix is the largest city in the United States with no passenger rail service. To catch the train, you have to drive 1 hour south to Casa Grande, or 2 hours north to Flagstaff. Our journey begins on Wednesday, November 20th. We drove up to Flagstaff and stayed in a hotel. The train was scheduled to depart the next morning at 5:25 a.m., and we did not want to drive up from Phoenix in the middle of the night. Snow was falling as we arrived at the hotel and got settled. The next morning, we were ready and waiting as the train arrived at the Flagstaff station. We boarded and were soon on our way to Chicago. There are 3 types of accommodations on Amtrak. The first is a private room or sleeper car. The second is business class, and the third is coach. We would be traveling coach for the first leg of the trip, and business class for the second leg. The seats are large, much larger than an airplane. They fully recline and have a footrest, and AC outlets at each seat to charge your devices. There's overhead storage for bags, as well as storage on the lower level of each car. The train makes lots of short stops along the way to pick up or drop off passengers. Don't get off the train at these stops or you'll be left behind. The conductor will make an announcement when a longer stop is coming up if you want to step off and grab some fresh air. I hopped off for a minute in Albuquerque to get a shot of the train, but the weather was yucky so I didn't stay long. There is cell service near cities, but for long stretches you're off the grid, disconnected from the modern world, as if you were out at sea. You can pass the time by reading a book, playing a game, using your laptop or phone, or taking a nap. Alright, so it is day 1 of our trip. We've been on the train for about 14 hours now. Boarded this morning in Flagstaff, and we should be arriving in Chicago tomorrow afternoon. Then we've got a layover before continuing on to Worcester. So about another day and a half to go. There's something magic about the train. You move through the landscape rather than skipping over it. Something about the big skies and great distances makes you think big thoughts. I found it relaxing to just watch out the window. Amtrak can be a low-stress way to travel. Compared to flying, there are no security screeners, no turbulence, and no tiny seats. Unlike driving, there's no construction, missed exits, or sketchy truck stops. It's a very smooth, comfortable way to travel. So, day 2 of our trip, we're still about 5.5–6 hours from Chicago. The rail network in the US is designed to move freight, not people. Sometimes, a passenger train will have to pull over to allow a freight train to pass, as they have priority. This is the opposite of how railroads operate in Europe. Chicago Union Station is a major hub for Amtrak. As the Southwest Chief pulled into the station, the tracks disappear underground. We had a layover of about 6.5 hours until our next train departed. The beautiful station has several shops and a large food court. Because the second part of our trip was business class, we were able to wait in the Amtrak Metroliner Lounge, which has a bag check, free Wi-Fi, really comfortable chairs, and free soft drinks. I did venture outside of the station to take some pictures of downtown Chicago, but it was very cold and windy in November, so I didn't stay long. Before I knew it, it was time to board the next train. The Lakeshore Limited runs from Chicago to Boston, passing through Indiana, Ohio, the corner of Pennsylvania, and upstate New York. Our stop was Worcester, just before the end of the line in Boston. It mostly follows Lake Erie, passing through farmland and small towns where people stop and wave at the train at crossings. For this part of the journey, we were in business class. We got a free complimentary travel kit which came with a blanket, eye mask, and inflatable neck pillow. So, how do you sleep on the train? Well, you close the curtains, recline your seat all the way back, kick off your shoes, and go to sleep. A blanket, an eye mask, and earplugs are must-haves. A travel pillow is also a good idea. We made it to Worcester, arriving on Saturday at around 7 p.m., with family there waiting for us at the station. We spent 5 days in Massachusetts visiting with family. The main reason for the trip was to celebrate Thanksgiving together, which we did on Thursday, November 28th. We had a great Thanksgiving, and I enjoyed spending time with my cousins. Friday morning, we would be back on the train heading home. Well, after a week in Massachusetts and a great Thanksgiving, it's now time to head home. The route is the same route we took here, just in reverse. We boarded the Lakeshore Limited at around 2 p.m. on Friday, November 29th. From here to Chicago to Flagstaff would be another 52-hour journey. We were in business class seats for this part of the trip. Besides the travel kit, business class passengers also receive free soft drinks from the snack bar in the lounge car.
Once again, welcome aboard AMTRAK 49. The next station stops connected in approximately 20 minutes. Thank you.
The train slows down when passing through cities, but can go up to 80 miles an hour in the country. Saturday morning, we are passing through Indiana on our way to Chicago. The thing about the train is that it gives you a front row seat to see how people live in different parts of the country. We arrived in Chicago a little after 10 a.m. We had about 5 hours until the next train left. I didn't take any video, but we hung out in the AMTRAK lounge again, had some lunch, and looked at the shops until it was time to board. A little after 3 p.m. and we were on the Southwest Chief heading towards home.
Folks, just drop the big bags and head up the stairs, folks.
We have departed Chicago's Union Station promptly and on time. We're going to do some railroading for the next couple of days, folks, making all intermediate station stops along the way with our final destination, the City of Angels, Los Angeles, California. Folks, safety is very important to us at AMTRAK. Please review the safety pamphlet booklet of instructions. It's located directly on the seat backs in front of you. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about the amenities and the consist of this beautiful long-distance train. All the way at the forward end of the train are 3 sleeping car accommodations. That area is for passengers who are ticketed for the sleeping car. All the way at the rear of the train we have 1, 2, 3 coach cars, and they look the same, folks. Located downstairs of each coach car are a set of bathrooms. Now smack dab in the middle of the consist, we have a viewing car. How do you know when you're in the viewer? Because it looks very different from the rest of the cars. The viewing car has great big windows. It has tables and swivel seats. That's for all of our passengers to assemble and enjoy the views along our route. Now located downstairs of the viewer is the cafe. The attendant will make an announcement once they're open and ready for business. We got a dining car on board this train as well, folks. Diners on the other side of the viewer. If you wish to eat in the restaurant this evening, it's by reservation and reservation only. The LSA operating that car will make an announcement about dinner reservations. Folks, AMTRAK train number 3, Southwest Chief, is a non-smoking train. That's federally regulated, folks, and we'll enforce that as per law. It sounded like a whole lot of policy and procedure, but it's really this easy. Please sit back, relax, and let the rail do the work, folks. All aboard, here we go, folks.
I'm not quite sure what the halfway point is, but I think we might be past it. We got on the train yesterday afternoon and made it to Chicago today, where we had our layover and changed trains. So we're back on the Southwest Chief and should be in Flagstaff tomorrow night. The next stop coming up is La Plata, Missouri, and this has kind of a cool feature. There's a webcam at the station where we'll actually be able to watch a live video feed of our train as it rolls in. So check this out.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was the Silver City, La Plata, Missouri. Our next scheduled stop, folks, is Kansas City. Kansas City, here we come. About 2 hours, folks. Thank you for traveling AMTRAK here.
You can't really see in the windows. It is Saturday night, about 10 o'clock. We are stopped in Kansas City for an extended layover to let people off and pick people up. And well, it's really cold out here. It's about, I don't know, 40 degrees. It's downtown Kansas City. There was a beautiful sunrise the next morning as we chugged across eastern Colorado. I know most people think of mountains when they think of Colorado, but a little less than half the state is flat, rolling land. Just as you leave Colorado and cross into New Mexico, the train goes through a long tunnel called the Raton Pass. The tunnel is half a mile in length and has been in use since 1908. At 7,588 feet elevation, it is the highest point on the old Santa Fe Railroad. How do I know that? Because there was a sign just before the tunnel entrance that said so. There was still snow on the ground in New Mexico, which looked very pretty. I thought that New Mexico had the best scenery of the entire trip. Well, today is the final day of our trip. I slept pretty well. We had a nice sunrise and good breakfast in the dining car. Just crossed over from Colorado into New Mexico a short while ago, and we're due to arrive in Flagstaff at 9:30 tonight. There was a gorgeous view of the Sandia Mountains as we approached Albuquerque. Got a little stop here in Albuquerque, but we should be back in Phoenix in a couple more hours. We were stopped for about 25 minutes so the train could take on fuel. I walked around the platform for a little bit. It's hard to get a sense of how big these cars are on video, but they're enormous. We are in car 412, second from the end.
Gallup, New Mexico. Coming up in 2 hours and 10 minutes. We will make an announcement 10 minutes prior to each station stop.
The sun was down by the time we crossed over into Arizona. The Flagstaff station also has a webcam, so we were able to get this view of our train as it pulled into the station. We were back in Flagstaff on a Sunday night, where it was still cold and snowy. We stayed at a hotel again before driving back to Phoenix the next morning. Well guys, I hope that gives you a better idea of what it's like to take a long-distance trip on Amtrak, and thanks for watching.